So welcome everyone. I'm Debra Thompson, the president of the Associates of Brand Library and Art Center. And I want to welcome you to this special event that I'm co-hosting with our president emerita, Arlene Vidor. Tonight brings together two important cultural players in Glendale, the Brand Associates and Antaeus Theater Company. Arlene and I have strong connections with both organizations, and it's been a joy and a lot of fun to create what I know will be a very interesting evening. I like to imagine that you are wearing, sitting in front of your computer, wearing a dress and heels or a suit and tie, as the sophisticated folks are that we've been showing you here. So just make yourselves comfortable no matter what you're wearing, and we'll get started shortly. We're going to start with a brief video that takes us behind the scenes of the Zip Code plays and shows you how they were put together, which is a very interesting challenge to Antaeus. That will be followed by our audio play, 90026, $10 in a Tambourine. And at the conclusion of the play, we'll be joined by members of the creative team for a Q&A. Now it's my pleasure to turn things over to Arlene Vidor, who has generously sponsored the creation of tonight's play. So Arlene.
Thank you so much, Deb. And I am, of course, thrilled to be co-hosting with you for an Antaeus zip code play with the Brand Associates, two great cultural organizations I'm really proud to be involved in. And as Deb said, I am sponsoring or a sponsor of tonight's play. And when I heard that Echo Park was going to be part of the Zip Code Season 2, I was just thrilled to be able to sponsor it. So I'll say a few words before we introduce the play, but right now I'll just turn it over to Antaeus Theater's own Alice Johnson. So over to you, Alice.
Thank you, Arlene. And thank you everyone who's joining us this evening. We're so grateful to have the chance to share this with all of you with the Brand Associates. I particularly also want to thank the Michael J. Connell Foundation. They are the sponsors of the entire Zip Code Play series, and none of this would have been possible without them. And thank you to Debra and Arlene for putting this event together this evening. And thank you particularly to Arlene for being the sponsor of this play. We're just, we're so appreciative. We'll move on to the video in just a moment, which will give a sense of how we came to put this project together and what was involved. For the most part, I think you should all already be seeing the video full screen, but if you're not, if you click on the view button and switch to speaker view, then you should be able to see the video full screen. And as you're watching the video or as we're listening to the play, if you think of any questions you'd like to ask for our panel, you can add those to the Q&A anytime, and we'll go through those at the end. So thank you again, and please enjoy the video.
Obviously, COVID had hit and our theater closed down, so our doors were shuttered.
So when we looked at where we were, we talked about doing a radio format of zip code plays.
We really wanted to make sure that we met our artistic excellence value, as well as ensuring that we could keep everyone involved safe. And we knew that we wouldn't be able to accomplish what we wanted without Jeff Gardner.
They knew that I do Foley and I do sound design, and I was very interested in radio theater.
We also felt that we needed a host, so we reached out to Ramón Ocampo, Ellen Mandel, who does the original music. We went out to the Playwrights, I believe it was in June of last year.
Having 6 plays, having 3 actors in each play, directors, writers, and we started to realize that there was an audience that we never got before.
As of today, we've had 45,000 listens on season 1. While we were wrapping up the end of season 1, we started talking about pre-production for season 2.
But we also knew how ambitious the project was, so we kind of thought about having some extra people.
One of the things that I think we learned a lot about between season 1 and season 2 is just what sounds good as an audio play.
Talking to the writers about how to craft it for the medium of radio.
And then from those, we pick 6 and have an initial meeting with the playwright.
A whole new set of playwrights, 5 new directors, and then our actors, 18 new actors for this season.
Usually actors are coming to our space.
Logistically, it wasn't worth exploring, so we ended up talking about, can we do this at their homes? So I came up with a way that we could have a uniform kit, something that would be a very plug and play microphone,
We do the drop-offs of the kits and kind of make sure it's sanitized and clean and ready to go. They take the kit, check that everything is there, they sanitize it, they drop it off, then they pick it up the next day, let it sit for 24 hours and repeat the process. The actors have to do the actual setup of their own kits just to stay safe. Jeff put together all these videos, so they figure out how to put it together.
To be able to take the wonderful performances that are there, to take the incredible stories that have been written, and then to bring the audience closer. That's the thing I love. Theater of the mind is so powerful.
Season 2 is another, diverse look at different neighborhoods in Los Angeles that we haven't explored before.
To go from the last days of the racetrack in Inglewood to outside a club in West Hollywood and talk about, colonization or gentrification, to go to a bingo hall in Monterey Park, to have this really fun sort of glimpse at what that life is like.
And I think it will start giving a more well-rounded picture of what Los Angeles is.
It's going to be a really fun season.
Arlene?
Oh, I thought Alice had something else to say. Well, okay, we're on to the play now. So Echo Park to me is a really iconic and even mythic neighborhood. It's been depicted in so many movies, including two of my favorites, Chinatown and Quinceañera. Echo Park Lake was the first looky-loo adventure I took myself on when I moved here over 30 years ago. And I didn't realize at the time that Angelus Temple, the home of evangelist Aimee Semple McPherson, was right there next to the lake. So thank you, Mildred Inez Lewis, who we will hear later, for your lovely story featuring 3 legendary LA power players set in a very inspiring zip code, 90026. So everybody enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Zip Code Plays, a collection of original audio plays brought to you by Antaeus Theater Company. As always, we want to take a moment to acknowledge that this piece was written, performed, and takes place on the traditional land of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples. I'm your host, ensemble member Ramón de Ocampo, and in each episode, a writer from the Antaeus Playwrights Lab explores one of the many vibrant and diverse neighborhoods in our great city. Now, just in case you don't know what our Playwrights Lab is, it's worth repeating. Every Tuesday night at Antaeus, in person, or virtually, of course, our playwrights and actors gather to work on brand new plays. Writers bring in pages, actors bring in skills, and a creative workshop ensues. Each year, we present live staged readings of 6 of the plays in a series we call Lab Results. And through that process, full productions are born. As part of our New Classics initiative, we're continuing to support writers with our next commissions, roundtables, and completion commissions. At Antaeus, we love the written word. We also love a little history. And in this episode, we head back to 1925, to a central part of Los Angeles, once known as Edendale, which, long before Hollywood, was the center of filmmaking on the West Coast. The era's biggest stars, from Charlie Chaplin to Gloria Swanson to Fatty Arbuckle, worked in the studios there. We find ourselves at radio station KFSG, broadcasting in 1925 from inside the Angelus Temple in 90026, Echo Park, $10 and a Tambourine, by Mildred Inez Lewis.
KFSG. Echo Lake, you're a delight. Billy, sister needs a moment. Today, friends, we celebrate the anniversary of our beloved radio station KFSG. Brothers and sisters, today our church without walls has flourished for a year. Good. We're receiving birthday greetings from as far away as Australia. That's right. We've beamed messages of hope across the mighty Pacific. Imagine what the disciples could have accomplished with this wonderful, wonderful tool of radio. Why, I believe that...
Sister McPherson?
Are you man or ghost?
I prefer spirit.
Father, if this is a vision, give me a sign. If it's an intruder, let me quickly lay hands on my 45.
Please, I didn't mean to startle you.
Oh, the congregation's not allowed upstairs, dear brother. We have anything you might need on the first floor. Clothing, blankets, food, no questions asked. No precious soul has to leave Angela's temple without his dignity.
You're not afraid of me.
Why would I be?
You haven't forgotten our principles. A church should welcome people of all colors.
Reverend Seymour?
Yes, Sister Aimee.
Impossible.
Nothing's impossible if we believe. You should know that by now. You've seen wonders.
True, but I listened to your funeral on the radio.
Well, you didn't ask to give remarks.
We weren't as close as we used to be.
Well, maybe you'd forgotten that I was the first one to bring you to the City of Angels. I guess you were too busy to see an old country preacher off.
All I can offer is an apology.
Accepted.
I don't mean to be difficult, but may I ask how you come to be here?
I'm trapped in a kind of purgatory. I get glimpses of your world. Sometimes I'm sent back.
Have you seen him? The angels?
Not yet. I hope to. There's no certainty beyond the veil, only more mysteries.
Forgive me, but what you say sounds incredible.
Well, if you believe me to be a fraud.
Oh, no, of course not. Forgive me.
It's not my forgiveness you need. The living, on the other hand.
Yes, of course. Put a call to Sister William J. Seymour on my calendar.
Ah, big time.
I have to do it that way or I'll forget. I get so busy, I don't eat, and then I wake in the middle of the night starving, but I'm too tired to get up. When I open my eyes the next morning, I see stars. Sometimes I feel almost delirious.
Sister, you're still a woman, a weaker vessel. With your particular history, you need be careful. It would not do for you to have another breakdown.
I hope you haven't been sent just to find fault.
Why I've been sent, we have to discover. But remember, those whom we love, we chasten.
I get more than enough chastening from ministers of lofty Miracle Mile churches to storefront preachers, but their people sneak here for what they need. I'm not just talking about food.
Busyness opens the door to the evil one. You need to measure your steps.
I can't stop for perfection. This is what we dreamed of. Winning souls by the tens of thousands. You have to make allowances for the pressures.
I understand those pressures all too well. I've served thousands too, remember?
Of course. Your revivals went around the clock.
For 3 years, without a staff or big building. Just simple worship for committed people.
How did you carry the weight, Reverend? Teach me.
I'm afraid everyone has to find their own path. My only regret is that I didn't spend enough time with my wife as a woman, not just my partner in the ministry. You have to think of your children. Maybe you should take a step back.
If I can't preach, I'll die.
You'll die if you keep on like this. There are things you could stop.
Like?
Like hobnobbing with the likes of Charlie Chaplin. He's a rich and prideful man.
Please, don't be closed-minded. The little tramp's a riot. His pictures are good, clean fun.
Show people are only a step away from being flesh peddlers.
The people don't come to see him. They come to see me.
Then there's your problem.
It's not a problem. It's an opportunity. My efforts could change these men, fill them with holy fire.
Maybe they'll change you. These men want publicity. You don't seem to realize that you're bigger than all of them. You're a star.
The cross is the star.
But your picture's plastered on the front of this building. Everything you do should point people toward God and Him alone.
Reverend,
you must repent.
I sincerely don't believe I have anything to repent for. I've only sought Him.
As you wish. He gives us free will.
Oh, don't be like that. I feel so alone. My mother's a blessing, but she can't be my mother and my children's father. I love my children more than I love my own life, but the parishioners are my children too. I'm doing the best I can for all of them.
Your congregants, nickels and dimes, have built you a fine edifice. A new Eden in Edendale. Edens are always targets.
Who could object to what I'm doing?
You're not the only one with a vision for Los Angeles. If men who really run this city...
The mayor is a friend.
There's much you don't understand, sister. I'm talking about the real powers behind the throne. Men like Mulholland. If they begin to understand the power that comes through you, they'll either try to stop it or bend it to their own ends. Show God you trust him above all. Then you'll be safe.
Tell me what I should do.
Take the deed for this building out of your name. Put it in the name of the church.
No, sir, Reverend. If they decide to throw us out, where would I take Mother and the children? There's a practical dimension to faith. I learned that from watching you. After they stole your newspaper, things were never the same.
Yeah, by the end, I was left with less than 30 people.
I want what I'm building to last. I was given a vision for this place. I could see people relaxing by the water after service. We're on the edge of a desert. Do you know what it means for a boy to be able to fish? An old married couple to walk in the shade? People streamed to Los Angeles from all over the world only to find a city of lost angels. Angelus Temple is the Bible for those people. Echo Lake is their portion.
You would have lit my funeral on fire.
If I'd showed up, it would have been a circus. Crowds follow me, and then the newsmen follow them. I would have had to make illegal U-turns to get there unnoticed. You know I'm not the best driver.
Oh, it's good you can still laugh at yourself. Tell me, when do you study your word?
I preach twice a day, every day, 6 times on Sunday. I have to study while I preach.
I hope I didn't make a mistake bringing you here all those years ago.
1918. It feels like a lifetime ago. All the boys coming home from war. I was haunted by the ones too shattered to save. Your invitation came at just the right time. All I had was $10 and a tambourine.
And a tambourine.
Almost time. Would you care to join me on air? Can you?
If your listeners don't hear me, they'll think you're gone mad.
Half of them already think that.
Oh, I won't turn down a chance to have church.
Follow my lead. Stop! Pull over and turn off your engines, folks. It's time to celebrate the first anniversary of KFSG, Foursquare Gospel Radio. Officer Aimee here. Today we have a very special guest, the Reverend William J. Seymour. You might not know his name, but he's the one-eyed Negro preacher who ignited our great movement. He's passed on, so you may not be able to hear him in the natural.
Covering your bases.
But if you believe, you'll hear him in your heart. In tribute to him, I bring you a taste of the revivals of yesteryear to start our anniversary program. Clap along! So, as you know, I like to begin our time with something to make us smile and forget our troubles.
Aren't you forgetting something?
What's that, Reverend?
Speaking in tongues so the Spirit will fall on the people.
We save tongues for our healing sessions, Reverend. Those of you in Radio Land who are interested, tune in on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. You'll be amazed.
You've lost the courage of your convictions. You're the reason why I'm languishing in purgatory.
That can't be. I've planted 12 churches and host services in 5 languages. If you're going to stay, hush.
You didn't invite me. You can't make me leave.
A true man of God would not want to interrupt the word. Ha! Don't be alarmed, friends. I was responding to our dearly departed Reverend Seymour. So, a believer left service one day and climbed the park stairs. Now, those who know the park know those stairs are no joke. He slipped and was saved only by grabbing a bush. There he lay, 230 stairs and certain death beneath him. A kind neighbor saw him and rushed to help, but our believer refused. No, he would be saved by calling out the name of the Lord. The neighbor tried to warn him that the old bush was starting to break free. He begged the believer, "I'll pound this plank into the ground. You can use it as a stepping stone to get to safety." The believer refused to listen. The neighbor left. Then after some time, the bush gave. But he only fell 1.5 feet. The neighbor had planted the wood beneath him before he left. The wood said to our believer, "This is the Lord. You could have been home hours ago." So, you see, the Lord always hears us. Be like Moses. Go strike new rocks for fresh water for your faith journey. If you understand me, stretch out your arms toward the radio. You've received a fresh blessing on your life. But blessings don't come cheaply, friends. This radio station requires a great deal of funding. If you can, please send us a donation of whatever size. We don't care about the amount. We care about your heart. Only cheerful givers need apply. Now enjoy some music from our magnificent brass band.
This is what all this finery has made you, a beggar for money.
At the end, you served 20. It takes a good deal more to accommodate 5,000. New ways, the same gospel.
The work we do shouldn't only be measured in numbers.
Healthy things should blossom, not dwindle. That came out wrong?
No, it merely struck the final blow. I was the one who had the vision for an interracial ministry, Sister Aimee.
I don't know why, but he chose me to bring the idea to fruition.
I have an idea. On one hand, an homely, dark-skinned, one-eyed black man.
Stop. I'd give the world to be back in Hong Kong with Roberta's father. My missionary days were the happiest of my life.
At least remarry. It's not right to put divorce on a pedestal.
Don't you think I've tried to find another husband? My first died, the second abandoned us. I'm a young, healthy woman. I still yearn. No, sometimes I burn.
Let's not get into too much detail.
I don't sin. I don't have time. Los Angeles is my mission field. I accept the challenge, even though it comes at great cost.
I faced prejudice, but held to the truth.
I witnessed it, and it grieved me. But you're also a man. There's a difference. Dear friends, let me close with this. May our second year on air bring a greater harvest than the first. Everyone is welcome at the corner of Glendale and Park. If you are listening to us from far away, write to us. We want to know you. Until next time, signing off. KFSG 4 Square Gospel Radio.
At least your prayers remained simple and righteous. That made me proud.
Mrs. McPherson, a word.
Beware, he does not come as a friend.
How can you be so sure? I can handle this.
To whom are you speaking? Should I send for smelling salts?
I'm fine. My friends call me sister.
Do you know who I am, Mrs. McPherson?
Everyone knows you, Mr. Mulholland. Or we should every time we turn on our taps. It's an honor, sir.
Unlike some people, I don't expect praise or court notoriety. I'm merely an employee of the water department.
Are you here for counseling, dear brother? Prayer? Both?
For goodness sake, I'm a practicing Catholic.
Oh, you wouldn't be the first.
I'll turn to a priest if I find myself in need of counsel. I was just driving down Glendale, and my car could barely move. You got thousands flocking here.
Wonderful, isn't it?
What if there's a fire? Your people are blocking the streets. It seems to me that after you put on your show and turn them loose, they'll head to Echo Park. There won't be any room for the ordinary citizens the park was built for.
The followers are also citizens.
Some, perhaps, but not the right kind of citizen. You've been a concern of mine for some time. I wouldn't have stopped here on the anniversary of your station, but after what I just experienced, I can't remain silent.
What may I do for you, Mr. Mulholland?
I'm not the only one concerned about you. I said we should wait. I thought this would burn itself out, but it's spreading like a cancer. Like you, I hold a burden for Los Angeles.
Don't let him rattle on this way. It's dangerous. Pray.
Let us first have a word of prayer.
Absolutely not.
Then ask him to leave.
I won't do that.
Are you talking to spirits?
I'm in communication with one.
There are no such things.
Yet it's true.
This is exactly why I had to come. I hope you hear what I have to say in the spirit in which it was meant.
Of course I will. Please, have a seat.
I'll stand if you don't mind.
Tea?
No, thank you. We're busy people, so let me get straight to the point. You and I, a few others, have been placed in a unique position to shape this city. Our responsibilities are unique and immense.
I would argue the Lord had something to do with it.
You are peculiar.
Mr. Mulholland, I take those responsibilities as seriously as you do.
Good. Our city has a bright future ahead. That bright future hinges on one thing: embracing modernity, being modern, rational, technological.
Your aqueduct is a marvelous work. I understand you know the measure of every pipe in the system.
It's all up here in my head. I forget nothing. That's why I know what's best.
Pride goes before.
We both want the same thing: a well-run, sin-free municipality where people can raise families in peace and prosperity. A world-class city. You grabbed this property because of its proximity to Echo Park, I would presume.
It is a great benefit to us.
Echo Park's a man-made marvel. But engineering alone can't make a great city. It takes great people. What they believe makes the difference. We're becoming known as the place for faith healers and spiritualism. That attracts all kinds of riffraff, and riffraff bring decline and destruction. My great fear is that you might unwittingly be pushing LA down that path.
You see, this is what I was trying to warn against.
Hush. Sorry, do go on.
Let me speak plainly. I've come to ask for two things. Two things. And you and the city can peacefully coexist. I understand I speak not only for myself, but many others. First, you must stop feeding vagrants. If these people couldn't make their homes successfully in Oklahoma or Nevada, why should Los Angeles feed them?
You're asking me to let the people go hungry?
They won't go hungry. They'll find a meal somewhere else, preferably in another city.
Now, the only thing that can stop his cruelty is spiritual warfare. Pray!
Mr. McPherson. Mr. McPherson, I'm speaking to you.
I hear you.
You can't feed them all, so it's best to feed none. Who are you to pick winners and losers?
He cannot be right. The book says, feed my sheep.
I have so far, and with grace I'll continue.
But if they keep coming, then what? There are limits to what this city can absorb.
Stay strong.
Our conflict is made clear. I stand firm.
With one telephone call, I can have the laws changed and shut down your whole operation.
Let me point out to you that I am not without influence.
Do you really want to test whose influence is greater?
The second thing?
Several city leaders are concerned with the number of coloreds in your services. We naturally don't object to the moral uplift of Mexicans and blacks.
Get him, sister.
That's a relief, because I will never give that up. Never.
We're not so different. You may not know that I, too, had humble beginnings. Your motives might be good. I'm sure they are. You seem sincere. But that's not enough. I'm an old man. I know good intentions don't count for as much as you think. Do these two things. Keep your head down, and I'll look the other way.
Or?
You wouldn't be the first Bible thumper to be brought down by scandal. A single woman can always be compromised in the eyes of the public.
You don't have the right to dictate to private citizens. You may have successfully bullied the ranchers in Owens Valley, but if you fight me, you'll fight a higher power.
I hope you'd see reason, but so be it. Consider the battle lines drawn.
Oh my goodness, what have I done?
There's more trouble where he came from. Let all of this go.
I have to keep doing what I think is right.
No matter who suffers, no matter that you might lose it all.
I don't know what more I can say.
The pathways lie before you. You have to choose. May you be victorious in your struggles.
Will you come back?
My assignment's been completed.
Reverend? I am abandoned. No, I'm fine, Billy. I'm going to walk around the lake before service. If you need me, I'll be at the lotus bed. You want to know a secret? Our missionaries brought the seeds back from China. We planted them in the dead of night to remember my first husband. With no expectation they would grow, but they've thrived. I intend to do the same. You and me, old friend. Let's fight for our city.
You've been listening to 90026, Echo Park, $10 and a Tambourine, written by Mildred Inez Lewis, directed by Gigi Bermingham, starring Eve Gordon as Aimee Semple McPherson, Leonard Earl Howze as William J. Seymour, and Mike McShane as William Mulholland. Production stage manager is Taylor Ann Cullen. Jeff Gardner is our amazing audio producer. He also does our sound design and Foley. Our original music is by Ellen Mandel, and our sound editor is Diego Tapia. The Zip Code plays are sponsored in part by the Michael J. Connell Foundation. Antaeus Theater Company is an actor-driven ensemble that explores timely and timeless work grounded in our passion for the classics. We believe in the transformative power of live theater. Bill Brochtrup and Kitty Swink are our artistic directors, Anna Rose O'Halloran is our executive director, Nicole Samsel is our hardworking director of operations, with additional production support by Jade Mujayas. For more information about the Zip Code plays or to support Antaeus, please visit our website at zipcodeplays.info. While there, check out the original illustrated maps of each of our zip codes created by artist Cynthia Jaquette. You can also visit highlights of each neighborhood in person or virtually by taking the Zip Code Plays tour. In fact, if you enjoyed today's story and want to see where it all took place, the Angelus Temple, built in 1923, is still there at the north end of Echo Park Lake. If you enjoyed this production, leave us a rating or review. It really helps new listeners find us.
Great, wonderful. Now we're going to be joined by our panel, and these are people very central to the creation of the Zip Code plays. First of all, Mildred Inez Lewis, our playwright, is joining us. Actor Eve Gordon, who played Aimee Semple McPherson, is joining us, and artistic director Bill Brochtrup. And when everybody's up, we will start with some questions. Arlene and I have put together some questions that we've been thinking about just to get the ball rolling. And we will encourage you to write your own questions in the Q&A, and maybe some questions will come to mind as we go along here. So Arlene, were you going to start with the first question?
Yeah, I can do that, Deb. So my question first and foremost would be for Mildred, but Bill and Eve, please chime in. Well, if you have anything to add. I'm very interested in the combination of the three LA power players that you chose for this drama. I knew, of course, very well two of them, but I didn't know William J. Seymour that well, and I just wondered how you put them together and what purpose they had served in the play in relationship to one another. It seemed as though Seymour might have been Aimee's conscience, and I'm very curious as to how you based Mulholland's personality on reality, or if this is something you imagined. He seemed like he had some pretty unsavory objections to the ministry, and I'm wondering if that's based in fact. So could you just talk about the three of those people?
Sure. Thank you so much, Arlene. I love this part of the city because it's got so much of our heritage, so much of the complexities and the challenges of LA. It's often Echo Park, East LA in general, are often the first places that people come. We forget that, Cesar Chavez, of course, was Brooklyn Avenue and was known as the Ellis Island of the East. And Echo Park has traditionally been a place where new people came, and also people with new ideas. I mean, even if you go there today and you see the Echo Park Film Center and you see what the kids are doing, and then you see the hipsters, and then you see that there's still a really thriving church. It really embodies so many of the things that I think make Los Angeles, Los Angeles. So that Aimee Semple, when we meet her in this play, is the first woman to own a radio station in California. She has an amazing ministry that still thrives today. It's called the Foursquare Gospel, which has several million members still. She was known for reaching out to Latino immigrants and is credited with the Latino Protestant movement in Los Angeles. And we also have William Seymour, who represents this huge spiritual thread in Los Angeles. Echo Park was a home to spiritualists. It was a home to psychics, as it is still today. He ran something called the Azusa Street Revival that went on for months and drew thousands of people, and was one of the first really strong interracial movements in the country. And this is something that we're still wrestling with today, when we see that church services, temples, synagogues remain too often pretty segregated. He just an interesting figure who loved Los Angeles, was interested in creating Los Angeles as a spiritual hub, and is considered to be the founder of the Pentecostal movement. And I do go on about these people, so I'll wrap it up quickly. William Mulholland, of course, such a key figure, but he was incredibly unscrupulous in the way that he went about sort of getting the water from Owens Valley, pretending to be different figures, not even though he had been a Zarajero, an actual ditch digger is what he became when he came from Ireland, and worked alongside Mexicans and some Africans and some indigenous people. He pulled some fast ones to get it going. And we meet him here in this play at a point where his wife has died. And so he's a lonely man, a lonely middle-aged man in many ways. People often talked about the impact the death of his wife had, but it's also before the St. Francis Dam disaster, which really muddied his reputation. So I tried to catch three figures who were in a state of transition. Seymour, who of course is dead, but still wants his legacy to live on, not realizing it would. Aimee Semple McPherson, who is about to, already is huge, but is about to blow up even more. And Mulholland, who's really looking for his next purpose to make LA a modern city, the city that we enjoy.
Thank you. That's a wonderful answer for us.
So I have a question that is actually for both Eve and Mildred, because the two of you had to work together for this part. And I've listened to the play several times now, and it just finally dawned on me what the role of the episode of Speaking in Tongues is in the play. It's her living up to doing something that is back to the roots of her Pentecostal self. And also it frees Reverend Seymour to finish his transition to the afterlife, which is an interesting idea. But my question is, what is she saying, Mildred? And then Eve, how did you have to master that rapid, and is it written down? Mildred, did you write down the speaking in tongues, or did you say, Eve, go speak in tongues for a few minutes and see what happens?
I knew Eve's work from Ensemble Studio Theater Los Angeles, and I knew her to be an extraordinary actor who was somebody who was great with text, and there's a lot to be said in this piece, and also somebody who brings an integrity to a role, which is something that characterizes, I think, the entire Antaeus company. So I trusted, when I knew the company I was writing for, I trusted that the actors would find those things, and I didn't want to micromanage them, and I wanted us to go on this sort of journey together. I love writing women who are complicated. I love writing women who are over 30, who are sexual and vibrant and intense and flawed. And I just, when we were fortunate to get Eve to go on board, I just took a huge step back, you know, because I was in the hands of Gigi Bermingham, the director, Eve Gordon, the wonderful Mike McShane, and the tremendous Leonard Howze. So I'll leave it to them to talk about how they realized it. I just set the table for them.
Wow.
It was just Aimee speaks in tongues. That was the stage direction. Thank you, Mildred, for those incredibly kind words. I think the question was, you know, how did I do it? Just briefly, well, when you think of the purpose of it in the play, I don't really know much about speaking in tongues and religion and all that, but it seemed to me it's a way of leaving reason, leaving earthly sensibleness, and throwing yourself on the mercy of whatever spirit might fill you. And that's something actors do all the time. And I didn't find it the least bit difficult. I mean, Gigi said, okay, Eve, I don't know what to tell you. Let's give it a try. And then she said, oh, okay, do that. And I think that's just also lucky you, Mildred. That's something I found out I could do my first week of drama school. I was in John Guare's playwriting class, and he handed me a script and said, you're playing June. And then I quickly, and it was my first week, and I didn't even know if I belonged in any drama school. And I flipped ahead and it said, June, speaking in tongues. And then it was 6 pages of gobbledygook. And I thought, okay, kill me now, or is it too late to jump up and run out of the room? And then I thought, it's now or never. This is it. Open your mouth and see what happens. And so I just started freaking out and talking, and it was such a hit that I got a lot of positive reinforcement for it. Haven't done it since, but then when you had it, I thought, yeah, this is something I can do. And I never prepared for it. I just sort of let my reasonable mind go away and started freaking out and seeing what came out. And the nice thing about radio as opposed to live, you know, a reading or theater is if it had been terrible, they could have said, stop, let's do that again. So I had faith in Gigi and Jeff to tell me if it was working, and that's the short answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Short answer.
You know, the placement of that brief episode of Speaking in Tongues is really great, because it really does mark her difference from Mulholland. You know, he's the modernist and she's the ecstatic Pentecostal, and she's claiming that territory for her own and really, you know, challenging him for all his modern ideas. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Arlene?
And Mike isn't here, but I'll just speak for him that just in terms of the acting, that was another thing. We did a reading, and then Gigi said, oh, and Mike, you should have an Irish accent. And he said, okay. And there it was, this perfect, just a little bit of Irish accent from someone who had been in America for decades, but still had a little there. And it was just the right kind of accent. He's a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that too, Eve, that it was just on the tail of some of his words, so subtle, like he, you know, an American of Irish origin who had the residual accent, beautiful. And, you know, it also got me thinking about William Seymour, who I didn't know before I heard the play, and I was very curious about if there were any you know, if I can't remember what his lifespan was, if there would have been recordings of his voice. And I wondered, you know, in particular, how you took this bigger than life evangelical. And I guess Mulholland and Aimee were, you know, they were all 3 of them evangelicals in their own fields. And water played a big part in all of their lives too. But, Amy's next to the lake, and of course, we don't have to talk about Mulholland and water. But how did you decide how to present and channel Aimee? Her voice and that little jingle for the radio station, the way she delivered that, just talk about that a little bit.
Arlene, first I want to say that's a great point about the water. That never occurred to me.
Yeah. I read that somewhere. I didn't think of that myself. There was an article talking about, that these two had that relationship to water somewhat.
Yeah.
I think another element is the full immersion adult baptism, which was another really key element of water in the whole that she has and Seymour shares. Yeah.
Yes. How I have a, in my long career, because I'm old, I have played a lot of real people, and I just do a ton of research, and then I pick what I want to work with. In this case, I was able to find, it wasn't easy. I was able to find a lot of segments of Aimee speaking, young and old, and I was really struck with how Midwestern and regular and funny, like ordinary, funny, friendly, and that she didn't wait for laughs. It was like she understood or she misunderstood. If I were her, I would have told her, hold for the laugh, because she would say some really funny things and then she'd just race right back on. And then the way Mildred had written her sermon, the story of the planks and the wood and everything, was just stunningly accurate without being verbatim anything Aimee said. So I found it very easy to do that. I will say that I worked up such an imitation that do you remember this, Mildred, when we were filming it or taping it? We did only 2 takes, which is terrifying. And after the second take, Jeff kind of said, and Gigi is my friend, and she's a completely brilliant actor, and she really likes it when you go out on a limb. And I had really gone for it with a really big imitation. And then Jeff jumped in, and because he's a good friend and he knows all of us, and it's such a good collaborative atmosphere at Antaeus. Everybody can say anything to anybody. And he said, I think it's too much, pull it back and just be more like you. And I thought, okay, I'll do 1 take like that, and then you can use it. And so I just threw myself in and did it more like me talking. And they all said that was fine. And I'm so grateful, because when I'm listening to it, it doesn't make me cringe and want to run screaming out of the room like almost everything I ever see of myself does.
She was an amazing show person. They used the costumes from Charlie Chaplin's studio. If people have seen the recent Perry Mason episode, one of the central figures is based on Aimee Semple McPherson. I mean, it was quite a show. She understood the value of theatricality. Exactly.
Fireworks and goddesses and flowing fountains and guns and the whole thing. And with her funny little Midwestern accent. I know she's from Canada, but somehow that Midwestern accent went right up Canada, because she's from the Midwest of Canada. Mm-hmm. And she had this funny little homey accent, and yet she was extremely theatrical and quite shameless, and seems kind of sweet and sincere, and believed all of it.
Powerful person. Yeah. So Mildred, when you're writing about a famous person for which there's a lot of documentation and video or tapes to listen to and things like that, how does it affect your approach to the character, to writing the character? Do you feel like you have to really stick to the facts, ma'am, or does it limit your ability to expand the character for your own purposes?
The standard that I use, because I do often write, about half the time I write about real characters, is that I would want to be able to see them or their family or their friends and have them say that they felt the representation was fair and that the representation captured their essence. So that with Sister Aimee, I was a little restrained in terms of the theatricality of it, because she wasn't on all the time, and she's got this radio station when there are no rules for radio. I mean, we think of televangelists today and it's very set. She's making the rules up as she went along. And so, you know, I wanted to give her the opportunity to test things out and be a little uncertain, so that she wasn't just a figure who was larger than life, but somebody human whom we could relate to. With Mulholland and race, you know, Mulholland starts as a ditch digger alongside lots of Mexican Americans. He was not necessarily a racist man, but at the same time, you know, when they were picking neighborhoods to be wiped out, you know, for the water to come to LA, you know, a lot of the Mexican neighborhoods, you know, he was willing to sacrifice without much thought. And so I didn't want to represent him as a racist, but as somebody who had sort of the common ideas of the day, you know, a great visionary who was also deeply flawed. I mean, one of the reasons that St. Francis Dam disaster happened was because he insisted, even at that later stage in his life, that he could remember everything. You know, that, and I slipped that into the piece, you know, and that kind of boldness got us the metropolis of Los Angeles, but it also brought the deaths of many, many people in St. Francis. So trying to accurately represent people with Leonard Howze doing such a great job with William Seymour. Seymour was an interesting guy. I mean, he left a Black Baptist seminary because he felt it was too conservative. And made his way out to Los Angeles. And, you know, when you think about it today, people are no different now than they were then. I mean, he often referred to himself as a homely, one-eyed, dark-skinned Black preacher. I mean, and he was always taken with the fact that he had this, from his roots, this huge multicultural ministry, which unfortunately, as you learn at the top of the play, had dwindled down to being just a Black ministry by the time of his death, and a very small one. Having gone to those heights, you know, thousands, people in the street, silent, listening to his praying, captured by the message, he could not have known that he was starting an international movement that's still vibrant today. So I wanted to represent their truth and where they were at that point in their lives in a way that's accessible to a radio audience. So I was always thinking about, what does it sound like, this radio station? You know, even when Reverend Seymour gets to play, I wanted you to remember that, you know, preachers and priests are public speakers. They love speaking to a crowd. He never had the opportunity to be on radio. And so I wanted him to have a sense of play when he did that. So those are the kinds of things that I think about, but most of all, that I would be able to meet their friends, their relatives, their descendants, and have them say that they felt that they were truly represented.
That's a lovely standard to follow. You know, I think that you're talking about the sound here, and the Foley work in this is so great. Walking across the gravel and opening the door and, you know, tinkling the whatever she's drinking, the tea or something. It's like, seriously, it's really great. It really evokes, and as people who are so used to audio visual, to just have the audio you really are attuned much more, I think, to that aspect of the play. So kudos to Jeff. You can send him in my regards in particular here.
Jeff Gardner saved me.
Yeah.
The only thing he had me do was sip the tea. He said, okay, sip the tea. Okay, do it again. And and then he said, and swallow. And I go, no one's going to hear it, Jeff, because I know nothing about sound design. I go, okay. And then he put in everything, tinkle, 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 and I love the tinniness of the radio sound when we did the radio. Yeah. I love how the way Mildred wrote it in a cornier way than we do on radio now. It's like sort of very nascent radio stuff, like me going, stop. So I don't think they do things like that today. And it's kind of a tinny sound, and I just think it's so authentic and delicious to listen to.
Can I read somewhere that she did drive around in a police car from time to time and stop people?
Which which you wouldn't do today, but for then, I can only think of people immigrating from all over the world. Mexican Americans who had been in their country and then found themselves in the United States, African Americans from the South, people from all over the world, who had been to churches that were small, churches that were, pretty straightforward. They must have been thrilled. And to have like the Keystone Cops, driving into Echo Park late for stunts, after service from time to time, that, I wanted to kind of capture that feeling for people.
Arlene, did you want to ask?
Bill, I was interested in, we haven't really discussed sort of, how this play was selected and what was it, the process of selecting the plays based on the synopses and what was it about this particular thing. I know you get a lot of submissions to look over and, what was your process of selecting this and what were you thinking?
Well, thank you. I love these audio plays. I think each one is brilliant in its own right. My goal was to, for Antaeus, the theater company producing these, to kind of create a box, a lovely little candy box, and then allow each playwright to put a different bonbon in that. So each taste is different. Each one is approximately a half hour long altogether. So kind of a one little bite. And within that, I didn't want to tell the playwrights what to write about particularly. We asked them to choose a zip code that spoke to them, and then to give us a pitch for a story that would happen there. And so we have all kinds of genres. So within the 2 seasons of the zip code plays, we have some magical realism, we have a ghost story, we have some comedy, we've got some history, we've got just a little bit of everything. And I think that is really fun. And I feel like our job as producers of the show is to strengthen the voices of the writers and amplify those voices. So as you can tell with Mildred's piece, I mean, the hardest thing about Mildred's piece was there was so much history. And I love history. And I know you guys do too. I know you do, Arlene, and Debra, and probably the people here tonight. I love LA and I love history. And so to hear this story with these iconic early Los Angeles figures, the hardest thing was just trying to cull some of the material, because as you can hear, Mildred knows these characters and their history inside and out. And would that we had a 2-hour version of this play, because we would learn a lot more about them. But I think our job is to amplify the voices of the writers, and then to supply through Antaeus awesome actors. Shout out to Mike McShane, who is in the audience, I believe, tonight. So let's give a big thumbs up to him, and Leonard Howze, who's fabulous. Yes to our version, someone writes. Yes, I agree.
Mildred,
so
we invited Gigi to join us tonight too, but she's making a movie. Who'd have thought, huh? Yeah. So any other questions? Anything that you guys want to share with us about what you learned in the experience, things that we should be thinking about this play or the series in general, to kind of play us out here? Things we didn't ask that you'd like us to ask, or that we should ask about the play?
One thing to think
about, some history, please.
No, one thing to think about is that, the work that we were able to accomplish, the conversations that Antaeus facilitated between me and Jeff as I was doing my rewrites, which I think improved the play 100%, is in such partnership with our sponsors and our donors. We often think of people who donate as, as people who are far away and just send checks. But the fact that you're here, that you're participating with us, that you've listened to the plays, means absolutely the world. I mean, of course, we're artists. We are always grateful for any support, but again, engaging with us directly, and sponsoring these salons, the fact that there's wraparound content where you can go and visit these neighborhoods. I love to work with a company that is embracing where it is, not wishing we were off Broadway, not wishing we were on the Chicago, or we were, on the West End, but that embraces Los Angeles and supports us as artists. And so that's what was exciting to me.
You know, we're generally a classical theater. We're known for our Shakespeare and Chekhov and things, but we have this great Playwrights Lab that has wonderful writers. And so we've been looking for a while for, like, what are the new classics? What do playwrights of today want to talk about and to add to that canon of great work? And I'm always interested in Los Angeles things. And I think what we realized we were missing so much, particularly during this shutdown of theaters, was the community and the coming together of people. And I feel like the telling of an audio drama in your ears is very analogous to the intimacy that you find at our theater in Glendale. And I think Mildred, along with this amazing team, has really captured something special.
I want to read what Mike just put into the comments. I don't know if everyone can, yeah, I guess everyone can see it, but the production team took such good care of us all, and as a tribute to the care and talent, top to bottom, from the page to the stage. It's absolutely true. We always felt like we were in really good hands. The safety of getting the equipment to us, the care Jeff took, giving us a 2-hour session, every person, to help us figure out how to put our equipment up and make it a soundproof closet, all of it. And the care that we knew the material was going to be good and the production was going to be good. It's just the Antaeus way. It's a jewel theater that does everything beautifully. And we all really appreciated that.
But at the end of the day, we feel strongly it is about the written word, and we are all storytellers, but it starts with that written word. And so we were very lucky and grateful to have Mildred give us this beautiful story of iconic LA figures.
So I remember Mark Malochi, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, just gave a shout out to Peace in Our Time from years ago, which was my first Antaeus production that I saw. And it was totally fabulous. Deserves another go around, I think, at some point in time. It's Noel Coward, really a wonderful production. And so thanks, Mark.
And Bill and I were both in that.
Yeah, did you play a German, Bill? I saw your,
no,
I just
I
saw
played
a still.
a collaborator.
Oh, okay.
A bridge collaborator. Someone's got to.
Right, somebody had to. Okay.
I got his face slapped every night.
Wow, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to, if there aren't any new questions or new comments or anything, we'll let Bill play us out here with his Antaeus pitch. And if you have one, Bill, you probably don't.
Sure. Well, I just want to encourage people to look at season 1 and 2 of the Zip Code plays. So altogether, we have now 12 plays available for free to download wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Spotify or Apple or on our website. We also are now in the planning stages of a season 3, so we will have 6 more plays out soon. And in addition to that, we have some additional material, some supporting material, which are tours of each of these zip codes. We have identified interesting historical buildings, places, parks, streets, hikes in each one of the zip codes. And you can visit them either in person and listen to an audio tour recorded by one of our actors that will explain the different areas to you, or you can do that virtually and follow along like on Google Earth and find out the same material. And that's on our website too. So I encourage you to take the tours. I've been on all of them and they're fantastic. You really learn all about the city in its greater breadth, because it goes all the way from the Palisades to South Central to Sun Valley to Monterey Park. We're all over the thing that's so exciting is LA is such a diverse and interesting place. And as you listen to all these plays written by the different writers, strands and threads of the history of Los Angeles start to reveal themselves. So take advantage.
Bill, tell us the zip codes for season 3. It's posted on your website, so I know it's not a secret anymore.
It is not a secret. Oh dear, you'll test me here. Glendale, I'm very excited to say we are thrilled to have a Glendale play coming. Our permanent home is at the Kiki and David Gindler Performing Arts Center right in downtown Glendale. We'll be opening up there in the fall. All things going according to plan in this difficult time. We will have Burbank, Linwood, Hollywood, Griffith Park, and there's always one. I probably dropped one in there somewhere. Did I say them? Did I say 6? There are.
Was it Pasadena? Was it Pasadena? Was one?
No, but we're
I think
eager to have
Frogtown,
Pasadena.
Bill. Was it
Frogtown? I have
Frogtown,
indeed
wow.
forgotten Frogtown. Yes, so we are just getting started on those. There's a bit of a lead time because the plays have to be written, they have to be recorded, and then the sound design and the audio actually takes quite a long time. We have original music by the wonderful Ella Mandel, and Ramón de Ocampo is our host for the entire series. So putting all the pieces together takes a while, but look for those later in the year.
Great, thanks, Bill. Speaking of the brand associates, this is the first in a series of member events that are planned for the summer and fall. And the associates, we've been kind of dormant for the year, although we were certainly taking care of a lot of internal structural things in our organization, but we're ready to go now. And this is the first of the events. We're going to be going to the museum at Forest Lawn to see this wonderful Judson Studios retrospective, that you'll be hearing about that. We're going to have a visit to the Tuthankian Gallery in Glendale, and on the 24th, it's a meeting at Adams Square Mini Park, and there are others to be announced. So our goal is to bring our members to a real wide variety of offerings in our area and beyond. And I'm so happy you're here with us tonight, and I hope to see you at other events in the very near future. Also, Brand 49 is opening on September 11th in person with a physical show, and we'll have some kind of members preview, but we still are waiting to find out what the city is going to let us do. And as we all know, things are changing as rapidly, unfortunately. But keep your eyes peeled and look for your monthly update from the associates. Now, I want to give a special thank you to Isabel No, who's the development assistant at Antaeus. She's been behind the scenes tonight, making things go smoothly, and she's just a delight to work with and an incredible asset to the organization. So thank you so much, Isabel. And Arlene, you want to take us out?
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody on the panel, Isabel, Antaeus staff, certainly Mildred and Eve and Bill for joining us as well, and Alice for sharing that lovely short subject film with us before we got started. And we really love the Salon format. I think Mildred spoke beautifully to the idea of involvement and, cross discussion between audience and people involved with the theater and the people who produce our plays. And this is a wonderful opportunity to do that. So if any of our audience has any thoughts about or ideas about sharing a zip code play, this one or any other one, in a Salon format, and you have an organization or a group that you would like to convene so that we could all listen together, that would be wonderful. And you could contact the theater staff directly, or Bill or Deb or Deb Thompson or myself, and we could help you make that happen. So again, thank you all for being here, and have a wonderful weekend. That's about it.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Mildred. Thank you, Eve, Bill,